Hello, hello, and welcome to day 2 of Failure to Fortune. Today we're going to be talking all about passion and power and really reigniting that spark in your life, because I know especially when you are in a low moment or things are not going the way that you imagine them to, we tend to feel a little depleted in our energy. And it's one thing to know that there is something on the other side of the failure, that there is growth there for us, and another thing to feel it in our hearts and in our bodies. So that's what I want to get us into the state of today and show you how to do that for yourself so that you have these tools in your back pocket and you can always lean on them. But first, I want to say welcome back. Ariel, welcome back. How are you today? I mean, you're here, so you can unmute yourself. Tell me, like, how are you feeling after yesterday? Some of your biggest takeaways. I just want to do a little recap before we move on.
Yeah, you hyped me up yesterday and then made me cry, so clearly it was good. For me, I'm trying to build like this different sense of identity for myself. Like when you said in the beginning around like our life will fit in with the like expectation we have, and I've realized like the identity I've created for myself, she's very like chaotic, she's always behind, like there's certain, and then also like I always prioritize like being a good person over like going after what I want. And I'm trying to redefine that sense of identity for myself, and that was like what I came out of yesterday, is that I really want to rewrite some of those narratives. Not entirely, like obviously I value that I care about the world, but I need to rewrite what it means to care about the world. Exactly what you said. Like me serving more people, me getting more followers is actually how I do serve the world, and it's not selfish of me to desire that.
That's really huge. Like, honestly, I mean, awareness is the greatest agent for change. And and that was the whole point of yesterday. It was like mindset, getting us aware of the areas where there might be some blocks or things holding us back. And today we're actually going to talk about money. We're going to talk about money specifically, and we're going to do a little exercise that I think is really going to help you visually see and like have this tangible experience of like, okay, yes, when I make more money, everyone benefits. Because it's something that really helped me a lot as well. So thank you for sharing that. I know you're not alone in feeling that way. I know, and it's a big thing, especially as entrepreneurs, we have to work through in those beginning stages. And as we continue to elevate, right? Because it's just the same triggers going to keep coming up over and over again. For everyone watching the replay right now, I want to say welcome as well. Thank you for being here with me. I want to invite you, if you haven't already, to book your free one-on-one call. This is something I'm so excited to give away to everyone inside the community, your free strategy session. My goal on there, like I said yesterday, is really just to give you a breakthrough. That's it. I want you to get so much value out of that one-on-one call that it just like takes you to a whole new level, new height. I'm going to give as much away as I can in the hour we have together. So, take advantage of that. Honestly, it's one of the best free resources that I can give to you. And I'm really excited to hop on that. Even with you, Ariel, we can get on a one-on-one call. I know we've had a bunch already, but there's always more that we can do together. Second thing I want to say before we get started is an invitation to share this. Take a little screenshot, take a little like video or whatever, share it on your story, share it with your community. This community grows like 100% organically, and I can't even tell you what it means to me when you share about it, when you share this little tidbit that is like, helping you or changing things for you. I think we're building something really beautiful here together, and I want every mission-driven entrepreneur to know that this exists. Because it's like, it's such a beautiful resource to have. Everyone needs this sense of community and this sense of belonging on the road that we've chosen. So when you do decide to share it with your community, first of all, it helps them learn through you and through your experience. Like if there's a breakthrough you had and then you share with them, they're going to appreciate that so much coming from you. And then of course to know that like there are others of us out there and we are gathering regularly and we are working together to grow in our individual and collective missions. It really means the world to me. And especially when I hop off like a call and I see, everything that you've shared, it literally lights my soul on fire. So wanted to give you that invitation, and thank you in advance. All right, let's get into our training for today. I'm going to start like I did yesterday, reading through one of the pieces that I wrote during this whole comeback season process, and really inviting you to like drop into your heart and listen from that space, because it does hit differently when it's read out loud versus just read through a screen. Okay. Sit still, eyes closed. Focus on your breath. My own voice prompts me. It's a guided meditation that I created a year ago. What brought me to my mat today, I still don't really know. I've been reflecting a lot, digging deep within me for a sense of meaning and purpose, identifying exactly where I've stepped out of my lane, and remembering the things that I do better than anyone else. I have to sell something soon. I don't really have a choice, but I want to do it right this time. I can't afford another failure. Deep exhale. Now place your hand on your heart, bringing your awareness to this sacred center. Call forward a moment in time when you felt truly grateful. I'm transported back to my first Pacific Coast sunset. Instantly, the emotions of the memory overwhelm me. My body tingles and feels warm. My chest opens up. My energy heightens, and tears of bliss run down my face. I haven't felt like this in a long, long time. I remember how beautiful life is and how blessed I am. I feel wealthy and abundant, rich even. Later in the day, I get an idea. There's a note in my phone I've been sitting on. I think it might make a pretty good offer. I put out a little story post, honestly not expecting much. DM me born for this to read the proposal. Almost instantly, 2 DMs come in. Holy shit. This is my chance. All I can think of is next month's rent. I get to work on the proposal. So that was a really big breakthrough for me, that moment, because it was the first time in a while that I'd gotten back into this meditation practice that I used to do so regularly and had really fallen off track with. And it was interesting for me to see the exact day that I did that practice, it was like a pop happened in my energetic field, and these gates opened up. And from that moment on, creating abundance and having money circulate to and through me became so much easier. So I want to start today by actually doing that meditation together. And so I'm going to play it for us. Would be a good time for you to put your headphones on, like really get in your zone. Because I'm going to share, like, we're going to do the exact audio, and you could turn your camera off if you feel more comfortable. And we're going to drop in. It's about 20 minutes. And so I'm going to share my screen, and I will see you on the other side. All right. If you want to just give me a heads up that you can hear this, just give me like a thumbs up in the chat, and then we will be on our merry way. Hello, and welcome to your higher self frequency guided meditation. I invite you to begin sitting up or laying down in a comfortable position, ensuring that your spine is straight, that your shoulders are rolled back and down, and if sitting up, that your head is lifted. We're going to begin by slowing down the breath. Allowing ourselves to come into a state of peace and calm, to disconnect from the outside world for a few moments,
and to tune deeply into our inner world. I invite you to place your hand on your heart, bringing your awareness to this sacred center. We're going to inhale for 5 counts and exhale for 5 counts. I will lead you through the first one. Ready? Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. These are deep belly breaths. Inhaling, feeling your belly expand, and exhaling, feeling it contract. You can continue this breath on your own count, taking everything slowly, being very intentional. When the mind wanders, bring it back to the breath. Bring it back to the feeling of your hand on your heart. I invite you to return now to your natural breath, noticing how it feels now versus when you started this meditation. I'm going to lead you through a visualization exercise. I would like you to call forward a memory of a time in your life that you felt truly happy. Don't think too hard about it. Instead, tune into the emotion and allow your consciousness to draw forward this moment in time where you felt blissful, joyous, at peace, in love, in awe. Choose one memory and bring it fully into your consciousness. Allow the emotions of this memory to flood your body. Allow the gratitude for this moment to build. Feel the energy building in that sacred center beneath your palm as you remember this moment. Now tuning more into the emotion than the vision. Intentionally allowing that emotion to build, that energy to expand beyond your physical vessel into the space around you. From this space, I invite you to ask a question. What would my highest joy look like? And instead of trying to answer it yourself with what you think it should look like, what you think it should be, simply listen for the answer. Open yourself up to receive. And allow your consciousness to bring forward visions of what your highest joy might look like. Very good. Still staying tuned into this frequency of joy, of bliss, of peace, of love. I would like you to ask, what does my higher self feel like? What does it feel like to be them? What does my higher self feel like? Allow your consciousness to show you visions of the highest expression of you, the one who is in the highest service, the one who experiences the highest joy, the highest freedom, the highest love, peace, health. Allow your imagination to run wild. Remembering that these images are symbols, not to get too wrapped up in the details, but to tune into the feeling that they bring you. This feeling is the frequency of your higher self. And the more often you remain in this feeling, the more aligned you will be with the path of your highest joy, your highest freedom, your highest love, your highest service. This is a frequency that you can tune into. The secret has always been in that sacred place within your heart, where you have the ability to feel joy, love, peace, freedom, serenity, ecstasy, bliss, compassion, humility, grace. It's all within you now. I invite you to slowly start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, coming back to here and now. Taking a deep breath and rubbing your hands together. Placing them over your eyes. And with one more inhale and one more exhale, gently opening your eyes. Thank you for meditating with me today. I invite you to take this frequency, this feeling, into the rest of your day. Allowing this energy field that you've created around you to influence every moment of your day, every interaction, everything that you create.
Okay, welcome back. I am so excited to hear your insights and how that went for you. I'm going to give you a chance to come off of mute and share, but before we do that, I just want to set some context around what we did in that practice. So that is a meditation that I do every single day. It is a staple in my morning routine, and the reason for that is because it changed my life. It changed my life, it changed my business, and it continues to do so. You can find that meditation inside of the Monetize Your Mission vault. There's like a little tab that says guided meditations under the classroom, and I really please just download it and try it. Like, get into it for 21 days, try it, see if it works for you. Because I don't know if you can already kind of feel the difference in your body, but doing that work to shift your state from the inside out, especially first thing every morning, it does truly change the way you move through the world. Yesterday, we talked about how in order to change your results quickly, you have to become greater than your current version of self, right? You have to be able to shift the state from within before any of the results have changed. So instead of being someone who is receiving external stimulus and having that external stimulus dictate how you feel inside, instead, it's the opposite. You choose how you feel inside. You master your own physiology to choose your state of being, and then the external world responds to you. This is the greatest challenge we have as human beings because it does go against our fundamental default programming. And yet it's the greatest skill that we came here to master as souls. So today we're talking about how to do it. We know the importance of it now. We understand what are the things that are making it sticky for us to do that and why it's so difficult for us to do that. Now I want you to master how to do it. I want you excited again. I want you alive again. I want you to fall in love with life on a day-to-day basis. So I truly don't know how to have a conversation about business without having a conversation about the ultimate source of your power and the key to shifting your state quickly, which is your heart. It's more than just a pump. Turns out, and I want to read a little excerpt from this book called Resilience of the Heart by Greg Braden. He's incredible. He has, I believe he started as a geologist. So he has a science background, geologist, and now he's known for traveling all over the world and researching indigenous peoples in different parts of the world, combining the teachings and traditions of the indigenous with modern day science and what we were discovering on a day-to-day level and bridging the two together. So his research, his work, it's so cool. And I wanted to share, I mean, I can't say it any better than he did, you know? So I wanted to share a little bit about what's in this book to give some context around how powerful the heart is, because nobody ever taught us this stuff about our own body and our own being. Okay, so it starts with the story. Sylvia, a one-time professional dancer, had successfully received the heart and the lungs of a donor whose identity was not initially disclosed. Not long after her operation, she began to crave foods that she'd never been especially drawn to in the past, such as chicken nuggets and green peppers. As she had never developed a taste for these kinds of foods before her surgery, her friends, family members, and doctor were mystified. Just before her operation, she'd been told that she was receiving the organs of a young man who had died in a motorcycle accident. Although the details of donors are generally not shared with recipients, Sylvia followed up on this information and discovered the identity of the young man in a local obituary, along with the address of his parents. It was during a visit with them that Sylvia learned some of the details of the life of their son, Tim, whose heart and lungs were now in her body. And those details confirmed in her mind what she already sensed to be true intuitively. Tim loved precisely the kind of chicken nuggets and green peppers that she was now craving. While Claire Sylvia's story is one of the earliest and best documented accounts of memory transference through an organ transplant, opening the door to the serious study and eventual acceptance of this phenomenon, additional examples have surfaced since. In each one, there's a change in the personality of the person with the new heart. The changes range from preferences with respect to diet and foods to shifts in personality type, from bubbly and outgoing to shy, for instance, and even the sexual orientation of the recipient, all to reflect the inclinations and lifestyle of the donor. I'm sharing this account because it tells us how real the brain in the heart is and how it can function in ways that it was once thought only the cranial brain did. The discovery of this little brain in the heart and the now verified evidence of its ability to think and remember has opened the door to a vast array of possibilities when it comes to the hidden power of the heart and what it means in our lives. For 150 plus years, we've been led to think of the heart and the brain from an either-or perspective. Scientists, engineers, and analytical problem solvers have felt that the brain is the key, and they've often discounted the heart. While at the same time, artists, musicians, and intuitive thinkers have felt that the heart is the key and have readily dismissed the importance of the thinking capacity of the brain. It's now apparent why this either-or thinking generally doesn't work out very well. Because to separate the brain from the heart gives us an incomplete picture of ourselves. Clearly, it's more about both organs working together than it is about focusing on one or the other. And the more we know about how the heart and the brain work together, the more we can use this understanding to unlock the secrets of our greatest potential. The scientific community has been uncomfortable with such heart-based experiences because it implies the existence of a field of energy that connects all things and makes intuitive experiences possible. So the bottom line is that we're bathed in a field of energy that's everywhere, always present, and one that has existed since time began with the Big Bang. The existence of this field implies three principles that have a direct effect upon the way we live, what we do, and the role of our hearts in our lives. The first principle suggests that because everything exists within a matrix of energy, everything is connected. The second principle suggests that the matrix of the universe is holographic. This means that physical space between people and the things they experience is not a barrier to the deep connections made possible through heart intelligence. In other words, there's no reason to think it's easier to tune in to our loved ones if they're in the next room than it is if they're in another continent. The third principle suggests that the past, present, and future are intimately joined. And it's this principle that makes the experience of precognition and intuition possible in our lives. It's also clear that there's a single organ in our bodies that is designed to sense and communicate with this field, the heart. The heart generates the strongest known energy field in the human body. Electrically, it's between 40 to 60 times stronger than that of the brain. If we can truly grasp what these discoveries tell us about our relationship to one another, the world, and beyond, then the events of our everyday lives take on an entirely new meaning. We become participants in, rather than victims of, forces we cannot see and do not understand. To be in such a place is where our empowerment really begins. So, recap, because that was a lot. Recap. We have discovered the existence of a field that is everywhere all the time. We are intimately part of that field. We are in it and we are of it. It connects us all. This field is not limited by time or by space. There's so many incredible experiments happening like in the realm of quantum physics right now, that show us, like, even if you take a group of stem cells from a person and you keep them in like a little petri dish, and then you play the sound of a heartbeat, they will become heart cells. It's like they're being informed by the field of energy that they're in. Matter is literally just shaping itself around the field of energy that it's immersed in. There are others that show that the physical response in, if you have a person like getting a certain stimulus and they're having a physiological response in their body, and then you have a portion of their cells again in some sort of petri dish, their cells are going to respond in the same way according to whatever stimulus that person is experiencing at the time. So instantly this happens. It's like there's no time or space between this person and the sample of their DNA. But the shift that's happening is instant. So it's so interesting for me to read about this, and especially, because I have this science background, but I'm also spiritual, but I'm also very entrepreneurial. I started to ask myself, like, how can I integrate this knowing? Because what if there's an easier way to go about this? Like, what if there's a secret superpower that we're just not tapping into, right? What if this was baked into our business strategy? Albert Einstein famously said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." We've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Our logical mind is valuable, and we need it. We need it in order to create plans and take action on those plans. But what directs the plan? Maybe there's a way, because the logical mind at the same time can only think linearly. It can only think within the realm of time and space. It can't comprehend how somebody's life can completely change overnight. And just to make this so practical, how somebody can post one thing, blow up their account to like 1 million followers overnight. That happens. The logical mind is never going to understand that. It's always going to feel like, whoa, that's crazy. But to the intuitive mind, to the heart, to the field that exists beyond time and space, it's not a linear jumps. We're not limited to that. We can literally shift into new states of being and new results instantly. And so the state that we just put ourselves in through that meditation is how we do it. This is a state called mind-heart coherence. It's when you're connecting the logical mind, the brain, with the little brain, this network of neurons that exists in our hearts. When you sync these two up, literally like the frequency, and there is a giant field of energy that's projecting they've measured it up to 3 meters in direction. from your heart. So you're walking around like this. We think our selves are physically like stop here, but really there's an unseen world where our aura is extending. We've measured it up to 3 meters, but I think it goes out much, much, much farther. And it connects us all. We're communicating constantly. Yeah, when you feel that when someone walks into a room, especially that, you can walk into a room and instantly catch a vibe. Like, what is that? There's information all around us, and we're sensing it. The problem is our heart senses it, but there's this disconnect between our hearts and our minds, so we don't know how to take that information and then use it. Or maybe we have an idea in our minds about what we want to create, but the disconnect to our heart is not allowing it to get there, so then it can be projected out. So we have to close the circuit. We have to create the connection. We have to create harmony between all of these systems, and we do that through mind-heart coherence. So when you do these 3 simple steps, slowing the breath down, this puts your body in a state of rest and repair. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So you're no longer in that fight or flight mode. Slowing the breath down, 5 counts in and 5 counts out through the nose is what they have measured to be the ideal breath count. And it's very interesting. I have so many cool facts about this, guys. So interesting because when you, for example, say certain Hindu mantras, or when you do the rosary, pray the rosary, they notice that saying those mantras or saying those prayers forces you to inhale for 5 counts and exhale for 5 counts. So when people end and they feel so calm and at peace, they've changed their entire physiology. And it really has to do a lot with the way that they've been breathing through that practice. Which is, it's so interesting how all of these ancient tools are now being proven, like why they're so effective with modern day science. Yeah, it just like lights me on fire to know these things, and I'm sure you're probably the same. You're probably like, this is so cool. So we slow our breath down. Then you're going to place a hand on your heart, and what this does is it brings in your awareness into the heart space, right? Brings the awareness here. We're making that connection. Feeling the space, feeling the tingling underneath it, feeling its warmth, like letting your mind drop into it. They say drop into the heart. Place your hand on your heart and feel how your awareness drops. That's the sensation we want. And then from there, how do we open up the doors of the heart? Well, we invoke a state of heightened gratitude, joy. And this is a practice. It's not something that's always very easy to do at the beginning. To get ourselves into that state of heightened gratitude and joy without any external stimulus, to be able to create it for ourselves with the power of our visualization, maybe drawing on past experiences or memories. So I want to just get a feel. How was that exercise for you? Did you find it like challenging to get yourself into that state? Did you feel like there was a moment at which you were like, I don't feel like I can get any further than where I am now?
You just said so much valuable stuff. I'm like, where do I begin, Sophia? Oh my goodness. So I actually tried to do this once before because you've given me access to this meditation. And then the other time I was having a hard time dropping in and I was stressed about a bunch of things. And this time I like tried to do it with an open mind once again. And I took a better position and I feel like I did drop in this time and I got some really interesting visualizations and like some really like strong moments of like, this is the path I need to go down. So I loved it.
I'd love to hear about that if you're open to sharing.
Specifically, the word that kept coming to me was like brave, and like the visualizations that started at first were moments that I have felt my bravest. So it's like me like taking a bus on my own in Colombia and feeling this sense of like I can do this. I'm more resourceful than I realize, and like that like for me that brings a huge amount of gratitude because it's something I never pictured I'd be able to do when I was growing up, and like I'm so proud of myself for having done things that I've done. And then the end, I was like picturing that I was in this like community in Mexico and like people knew who I was because I was fighting some of these big resorts there who were trying to like take away their beach land and like creating a lot of issues. And like I was picturing like my connection to like the children and the families, like I could actually see it. Powerful.
Wow, that's super clear. That's really beautiful. Oh, and I totally see that for you as well. And I love that you mentioned, like, the first time you did it, maybe it wasn't as easy, or some other times you did it, it hasn't been as clear. But now that you're doing it more and more, like, honestly, the more you do the practice, the clearer things get. And the more you're able to tap into that heightened sense of gratitude. And I like that you mentioned the moments where you felt brave, because you can draw gratitude from many different types of experiences. I remember when I first started doing this exercise, this was years ago. The moment that I always found myself dropping into was the moment when I first met the man who would become my first love. And even though things did not go well with that relationship, I grew so much from that. And I was so grateful for the experience that I had, like, just that I got to experience that kind of love. And that's just where my mind it was like I didn't try to go there. It's just like that was the moment where I would not give that up for anything, you know? And I think that's where we draw our deepest gratitude from. It's like no one can take this from me. Like, this is one of the things I will think of, the moments I will think about on my deathbed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would add, like, I've been working on this since the summer, so I do agree. If people have trouble at first, like, keep going because it takes time to develop that skill to drop in. And Sophia, I also wanted to mention, because something you told me in our past trainings that like has really stuck with me, really related to what you're saying, is like I know people feel like very like stuck on social media because they're like, oh, the algorithm just won't show my content to people. Like they feel like Instagram is the thing that's blocking them from finding like their dream client. And I wrote this in my personal mission statement because of you. I wrote like, this is not an algorithm, like this is energetics and it's in my control. Like I can magnetize the right people into my business and I don't have to worry about outer forces because this is an internal game. And it's like something I remind myself of constantly. And it's given me back so much power around something that I know people often feel like they're just a victim of the algorithm. And so I just wanted to add that because I loved it. And I repeat it every morning.
Thank you for sharing that and dropping that, because I know there's people that are watching this that are gonna really appreciate that sentiment. And just to like really ground this down, a few weeks after I started this practice again, I had a random woman reach out to me in my DMs and be like, "Hey, found your account, think you're really cool. I'm coming to Antigua, would love to have coffee with you. I'm thinking about starting my own business." I was like, "Sure, cool, like let's meet." Not thinking anything of it. And, we sat down, had a conversation, and within a week of knowing each other, she signed up for 3 months one-on-one work with me. So it just goes to show, like, the right people will find you when you're in a state that is magnetic. And I think of this energy, I constantly, right, every morning I'm doing this exercise and I'm tapping into this field of energy that exists around me. And I'm literally visualizing myself magnetizing the right people to me, you know? Like, it's that powerful, your energy, your intention, and knowing that this field exists where we can connect with people beyond time and beyond space, then why would we not use that to draw the right people to us? And you do that by becoming a light bulb, by becoming a lighthouse. And I'm going to talk about this whole thing a little bit more as it relates to business in a minute. But thank you, Ariel, for all of your, like, you always bring so much value to every single space that you enter. And I'm so grateful that you're here. So for anyone who maybe was feeling a bit sticky around that, and or you had a great experience, but you're just like, I want to go further. Like, why couldn't I get myself into an even higher state of gratitude and joy? Like, it always seems like there's a limit. And the reason is because it is. There's something studied by a guy named Gay Hendricks, and he wrote a book called The Big Leap, which I really highly recommend. And in that book, he talks about upper limit theory. Upper limit theory suggests there is this imaginary limit ruling how good you allow yourself to feel. And the thing is, we all have them, and they exist at every new level of growth. There's an upper limit that is keeping you where you are right now. So you ever wonder why? sometimes when things are going surprisingly well in our lives, our immediate instinct is, but is this too good to be true? Like, am I actually worthy and capable? It's like crazy. Like, we put out this big desire in the world and then it starts to happen and we're like, oh fuck, like it's happening. Or, you have this big win and then immediately your mind goes to, but can I do it again? Can I beat this next time? And it's interesting because something I learned from being in rooms filled with multiple seven-figure earners is that often our biggest success can become our greatest obstacle because of upper limit theory, because you're constantly wondering, can I do it again? You're not really letting yourself land in the existence of, this is my new normal. This is safe for me to experience. And how this manifests usually when we do hit an upper limit is there will be some sort of cutting off of the flow of positive emotions. That's what wants to happen. Like, if this is your baseline, this is where you feel safe. It's like, this amount of good things happening for me feels safe because it's what I've experienced like pretty much my whole life, you know? And now things start getting better and better. And you're like, oh, no, 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 no. We have to go back to baseline. The same thing will happen in the reverse order, by the way. This is why typically people, when people, you also have an upper limit around how much money you allow yourself to make. This is a subconscious like ceiling that you've placed on yourself on your income, right? So what they've noticed is that when somebody starts to make more than what they're used to, they will find some way to get rid of the money to like buy something stupid or make a bad investment or something. And when you start dropping that, you're going to find a way, you're going to have some sort of increased motivation that forces you to get it back to where you're comfortable. So we all have these baselines, these comfort zones. Oh, wow, that's interesting. You said, when I started making 120K in my job, I quit within 2 months. Interesting, right? Did you feel like maybe hit an upper limit? Started questioning. So how this
Yeah,
manifests, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
because my brain had justifications for like, oh, why I was quitting and everything, but looking back, it was totally upper limit. It's like
Mhm.
your brain will rationalize things in
Yeah.
a way that makes you want to fall for those actions, but you have to look beyond the rationalizations and think about why energetically you want to let go of a good job or this or that.
Yeah, totally. This is how it manifests, right? Whenever we hit that upper limit, it manifests by, in some way, we have to cut off the flow of positive emotions. We do this by switching from by switching from heart-led living to head-led living. And we get super rational about it. And we're like, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. And there's so many logical reasons why, you would like want to quit the job, but ultimately it's an upper limit. And then of course, when your energy shifts, so do your results. Sometimes you might manifest getting sick after hitting an upper limit. You might manifest relationship challenge. You might randomly just start a fight with your partner and you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but you just want to start criticizing and blaming. You might manifest some sort of financial problems. So it's important that we understand like this does happen. It's a principle of life. And when we can be proactive about it again, then we can continually raise the bar on our upper limits. So in the book, The Big Leap, there's 4 main sources of upper limits, and most people struggle really massively with like 1 or 2. So it might be something worth writing down and diving into for yourself. So number 1 is feeling fundamentally flawed. And of course, all of these stem back to our lovely childhoods, where we may have learned these patterns from. So feeling fundamentally flawed. Feeling like you came into this world not being good enough or not being worthy of success. That's number 1. Number 2 is disloyalty and abandonment. So it's like you don't feel sorry, let me catch myself here. Disloyalty and abandonment. This tends to be something that may have happened in your childhood where you felt like you had something really good. So now every time something feels really good, you're scared to actually embrace it and accept it because it may leave you. Number 3 is believing that more success brings a bigger burden. So more money, more problems, basically. You may have learned this from somewhere as well. And in abundance, the program around healing your relationship with money that's in your membership, we talk about the responsibility wound. And so specifically about this idea that more success brings more problems, more success brings more responsibility, and how we're so adverse to responsibility, and how we can start to heal our relationship with responsibility, which then allows us to make more money. Because responsibility is not a bad thing. It's a part of life. And the more you're actually able to expand your capacity for it, the more money you're going to be able to embrace, because money is a responsibility. And we do get to be stewards of wealth. So definitely suggest going and checking that one out. Number 4 is the crime of outshining. So maybe as a kid, you were taught like you have too big of a personality, like you're crowding the room, you're taking up too much space, you're not letting anyone else have space. And so you learn to kind of dim your own light. And so whenever you start shining, maybe you get a compliment and instantly you deflect it. You're like, oh, but you're so beautiful. We do this, especially as women, all the time. And there is beauty in being able to simply receive and to shine and to let yourself shine, knowing that as you do, you give permission for others to do the same. So moving past the upper limit and into what Gay Hendricks calls the zone of genius, it comes from this committed decision. Really, it's a committed decision to increase the amount of time every day you allow yourself to feel good. Period. So you make this committed decision to exist from the heart, to relax when your instinct is to contract, right? Because there's going to be moments. There's going to be those moments where you hit the upper limit and you want to sabotage your joy. Things are going well. Things are going amazing. Things are flowing. Things are positive. Don't let yourself don't take yourself out of that state. When you start to feel yourself contract, make a concerted effort to relax and to stay open, to soften when the instinct is to harden. You're practicing a way of being, a way of life, to seek deeper love and connection and understanding, maybe when your instinct is to run away. And the longer periods of time you're able to sustain these positive sensations, the more you train yourself to feel safe in them. And gradually, you make that the new baseline. That's what we're doing here. We're making higher and higher and higher states of joy and bliss and abundance our new baseline. So we have to train ourselves to feel safe in this and sustain it for longer and longer periods of time. So for me, this is why I do this daily mind-heart coherence exercise, because it's priming me to exist in that heightened state of joy and gratitude and abundance. And it allows me to practice extending my limits of joy in a very safe way. It's like I'm not waiting for, the outside world to trigger my upper limit before I do this. Like I'm being proactive about it and I'm taking it upon myself to increase my upper limit from the inside out. It's a way that we can gradually de-armor the walls around our heart, chip away those walls we've built between ourselves and the abundance that is available to us right here, right now. Because when you are really in that space, you feel so wealthy. I can feel all the things that I'm waiting for money to make me feel right now. So why would I wait? Why would I wait until I'm a millionaire to feel like the wealthiest woman on earth? I don't have to. And the more I can practice that, the more I'm actually going to be able to enjoy the wealth once it's here also. Because money does not equal happiness. That's very clear based on the amount of wealthy people who have had very, unfortunate and tragic lives. So we aren't just looking for that. We're looking for this holistic level of success, and it starts now. Now, newsflash, I don't always wake up feeling like a stunning stack of fucking sunshine. Like that trending audio. That's like, get out. It's time to work. You know what day it is today? I don't wake up feeling like that. I'm going to be honest. I wake up feeling most of the time pretty groggy, pretty like, eh. But I make it a priority to put myself in this state every single day, first thing in the day. And you can do this through the meditation practice, or you can find another way that works for you. If having a dance party in your room is what does it for you, then do that. Breath, sound, movement, these are all your tools to get yourself into a heightened state of being. And it's going to prime you then to think differently throughout your day, to feel differently throughout your day, and to act differently throughout your day. It's so interesting for me how, like, when I do this practice and then I hit like maybe a bump in my road or a bump in my day or something that, would typically trigger me, it's so much easier for me to shift and go back to opening my heart. Versus when I don't do it, I'm so much more likely to stay in that triggered state. Like and notice this for yourself too. Like start to see what the day-to-day effect is. I also notice that when I do this, my energetic field is different and the world around me responds differently. I'm walking through the streets differently. The opportunity, like I'm sharing online differently. And opportunities and synchronicities and clients are drawn to me through the frequency that I'm emitting. This is like the secret sauce to clients falling out of the sky, you know? And I want to give you an example. So again, we can ground this down about how powerful the exercise of priming is. So priming is when you condition yourself for a certain state of being. And Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, hacking yourself to feel the way that you want to feel and not just letting yourself be a victim of your external circumstances. So there's this very famous experiment that Tony Robbins talks about all the time, and it's stuck with me. And so I want to share it with you. And it shows us how the most subtle, almost seemingly unrelated events can trigger different behaviors in people. So they did this study where essentially they walked up to a bunch of random candidates on the street and handed them a cup of coffee. To half of them, they gave them hot coffee. Half of them, they gave them cold. And they were just like, hey, can you just like hold this for a sec while I tie my shoe? And obviously, most people are like, yeah, sure, no problem. Half of them get the hot coffee. Half of them get the iced coffee. They go about their day, not really thinking anything of that interaction. About 20 minutes later, another person comes up to them and asks them, hey, can I do a survey? Like, do you want to participate in a survey? I'm just having people read this paragraph and answering a few questions about the main character. And people were like, yeah, sure, no problem. This is where it gets interesting. So the participants who held the hot coffee rated the person in the story as happier, better natured, generous, and social. The participants who held the cold coffee were more likely to say that the person was unhappy, irritable, and selfish. So there's no difference between the profiles that they were given, between the stories that they were told, that both groups got to read. But how they reacted to the description was so different because of the experience that had happened 20 minutes earlier, the completely unrelated experience of the hot or cold coffee. They had no idea that they'd been primed to respond a certain way. So think about that, the power of priming. And with all the stimulus in our world that we have absolutely no control over, how important is it to be proactive about what you're priming yourself for? Yeah, right? Like that's a wild example. That sticks with me and it stuck with me. And I start to think about when I'm behaving a certain way, like, was I primed for this? Was there something I listened to or something I heard or something I saw that may have triggered this response in me? And then we get to practice, again, being happy and fulfilled and feeling free, because freedom, it's an inner game. It's an inner game. You can feel free right here, right now. You can feel elated and joyful and blissful right here, right now. And so we're reprogramming our nervous system so that this state is the baseline. This whole 3 days is about momentum, building momentum. And so to consider what this might do, this practice can do over time for you. The law of momentum is very simple. It says that objects in motion tend to stay in motion, right? If something is moving in a certain direction in a certain way, it's going to continue moving in that way. You ever heard the rich get richer, the poor get poorer? All law of momentum. And so when you're in this state where maybe you're going in the opposite direction of your dreams, you're building negative momentum towards where you want to be, you're in a state where maybe you failed, you've had some sort of collapse, you're in self-doubt, you're in a spiral, you have to be able to shift the momentum, shift the direction of momentum. And how we always do that is we have to inject energy into the system, right? Like if I have a ball that's rolling this way, what do I have to do? I got to push it this way. I got to impress another force, introduce another force into the system, introduce new energy. And emotions are energy in motion. So the second I inject a new emotion into the field, into my moment, my state of being, by doing mind heart coherence practice, doing a dance class, whatever it is that you're gonna do, immediately you shift the momentum. And objects in motion tend to stay in motion. My aerospace engineering is coming through. Yeah. I try to bring in all the tools that I have into these spaces, you know? So I'm glad that you're enjoying the scientific analogies. Yeah, so it's like the hardest moment is the moment when we switch directions. After that, it just gets easier and easier and easier and easier. So always be mindful of which direction your state of being is moving you in. Is it towards love or is it away from love? Is it towards abundance or is it away from abundance? And when you catch yourself there, lean on your tools to shift the state. And better yet, prime yourself so that it's a hell of a lot easier to shift the state. So let's talk about money and how this relates to our financial prosperity. There is quite literally nothing that's more magnetic than a person who is lit up with a joy for life and with a passion for their passion. It's a very seductive quality, and I use that word intentionally. I'm currently reading a book called The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. And if you want to become a master salesperson, I suggest studying The Art of Seduction because that's all it is. It's the art of helping somebody. It's like you are compelling somebody to take a certain action that, I mean, in our case, is in their best interest. All of us have beautiful missions. We have beautiful services that change people's lives. And so in compelling them, being intentional about the way we invite somebody into that experience, we're helping them get beyond their own limitations. We're helping somebody get beyond their own resistances, beyond their own current level of self. And so in order to do that, there is an element of seduction, and that's not something to shy away from. I love to be a masterful seductress. And it's outside, I take this outside of the realm of sex and I take it into the realm of business. Compulsion, persuasion, like this is sales and it's so fun. And there are what I'm learning in this book, there are different types of archetypes for seduction. And so it's really nice to be able to read it and find the one that fits you most. One of them that I think a lot of us will resonate with is the natural. It's the person who has almost that childlike innocence and awe for life and playfulness. Like, you ever wonder when a child walks into the room, it's almost like no one can take their eyes off them. Like, you just want to play with this. You're so cute. Oh my gosh. That's seduction. You know, it's influence, the ability to draw awareness and attention to yourself. And that is something that we can all tap into. That's why when somebody is lit up and they're talking about something they're passionate about, and it's like so hard to take your eyes off them. You can't help but lean in. Seduction is all about finding what people deeply, inherently, and even subconsciously want. They may not even be fully aware that they want it. But for example, everyone wants to feel free. Everyone wants to feel this unbridled joy. Everyone wants to feel grateful for no particular reason other than I woke up today. We crave this sense of wholeness. And so in mirroring that back to somebody, you become so seductive. People can't help but be mesmerized by your presence. And so your joy truly is a business strategy. Your heart, your passion, it's a business strategy. And of course, a life strategy, because who doesn't want to just feel amazing all the time, right? So when it comes to money, how does an open heart help us make more of it? And again, I want to ground this down. I'm always going to take the principles that are like up here and like bring it just down to earth, make it practical. Money is energy. You've probably heard this before. What does that mean? Well, money is always going to flow to you through people, from people, right? Especially as a business owner, you sell a product or a service. People are the doorway, the channel through which money flows to you and your business. Where did they get it from? How did the money flow to them? Well, they exchanged energy for that. Either their time, which is a form of energy, right? They took the energy that they had in this day, they gave it to this company, and that company flowed money to them, and then they flowed money to you. Or maybe they're an entrepreneur and they have some sort of service or product. They put energy into creating that, into delivering that, and they received money for it, and now they're flowing that money to you. So you see how it really is all energy. When we break it down, when we take away the physical product or the physical service or the time spent, it's the energy that somebody's putting in and receiving. What we've created this physical object of money that represents the exchange of energy or the exchange of value. So when we see money as energy and we realize that it really is a currency, it's a current. It's energy that flows to us and then flows through us. I received money, and then I bought this coffee here from this cafe, and I bought this cute top from this other place, and I paid for my plane ticket, and then I invested in this mentor. And it's like all of this energy, it's just flowing to and through me at all times. It's coming in, it's going out, it's in circulation. And money wants to flow. Energy wants to flow. Right? When it becomes stagnant, this is when we close the drain for it to flow in, because we're not allowing it to flow out. This is why money in circulation literally makes you more money. All the gurus are talking about, don't have money sitting in a savings account. You can't save your way to $1 million. Put that money to work. It's all the circulation of energy. A line that completely changed my life around money was, money loves purpose. Money loves purpose. Money needs direction. Money wants to know where it's flowing to. This is a way that we can keep it in the flow. We can direct it towards certain things instead of just like, I just want this money, so I have this money. It's like, okay, but that's stagnant. So when you're doing your mind-heart coherence exercise and you're opening your heart, communicating, right? We're like creating this channel where our intentions, our decisions, now in communication with our heart, we're feeling it, and then we're communicating that through our field of energy. And something so interesting that happens when you're in a state of mind-heart coherence, your brain and your heart, the frequency that they're operating at, synchronize, like the electromagnetic frequency synchronizes, and it also synchronizes with the electromagnetic frequency of the earth. 0.1 hertz. So they've measured this. So you could be literally like just sync up with the field. And it's just like, you can communicate so much easier. You're like this walking, I don't know, walkie-talkie. You're a walkie-talkie. Very clearly telling the universe what you desire. And then the field responds back to you, as is the law. So when you're in this state, it helps to know where the money is going to flow towards, because then it knows what reason it has to flow to you. There's a circulation happening. So this is an exercise I want us to do together now, and this is kind of the last little bit of this training that I have. You have a notebook with you, Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to share a little drawing that I made for myself. And I made this while I was really in the midst of this dark night of the soul, but I was kind of like coming out of it and money was starting to flow again. But I could feel there was still a little bit of resistance to the gates of abundance, to the flow, the circulation of abundance. And I wanted to get back into the identity of I'm a circulator of wealth because I knew money loves purpose. And if it could give money purpose to it to come to me in increasing amounts, then it would. And so I created this little drawing. And honestly, I didn't even think it was that cool until my friend saw it and she was like, Sophia, this is absolute genius. And I have it like hung up in my room. So I see it every day and I tune into it every day. And it helps me in my meditation to really visualize this flow of abundance. So I want to invite you to do this now. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a little stick figure of yourself. Okay. Yeah, you can draw this like more at the bottom of the page. And then at the very top, we have to always connect back to source, right? We want to close the loop. And so we have to connect back to source. You can call this God, source, universe, whatever feels most aligned for you. Understanding whatever the source of all creation is for you. And now we're going to draw the channel through which money flows to you. So, I mean, I have there in big letters, money loves purpose, because that's like my mantra. And I am a holy circulator, because that's another one of my mantras. You can write that if you want to. And then I have all my dollar signs and my money, the income comes from clients I love working with and my retreat. So you can literally write down the channels through which you desire money to flow to and through you. And you can get even more specific about this. Like at this moment, I wasn't super clear about it. Now to redo it, I would probably write the exact like offer that I have with clients jumping into this offer, like this many clients a month or more, always including or more, because we don't want to limit ourselves. Or if it just feels so good for you to like leave it open-ended and like picture this like just unlimited channel of abundance flowing into you, you can leave it as just like clients I love working with or like people buying my product or whatever it is. And then you're drawing the arrow flowing down from source into you. Okay, from there, this is where it gets really fun. Now I want you to put arrows out of you and get as creative as you want with this and draw everyone that benefits from you making more money. All the places that you're going to flow money to. And this could be like any sort of like fun things that you're going to do for yourself, things you're going to do for people that you love. Being able to, I have my cat on there because it's important for me to have money to flow towards her. I think about all the restaurants and the groceries and all the small businesses I get to support living here in Antigua. I think about my rent and I love the place that I live and I love paying the rent for where I live because it's such a great experience. I think about my dance classes, my kickboxing classes. I love to flow money towards those people who give me such a great service in my life. It's like, just imagine. And you could even include things on there that like you don't you are not currently flowing money towards, but you are going to be in the near future. Like a certain trip you want to take or something you want to do for your parents. You can flow money towards credit cards. You can flow money into a savings account if that's one area, but it can't be the only thing, right? Because it needs to stay in flow. And you can, of course, keep adding things to this, like, as you go, and do this exercise as many times as you need to. Okay, and then final thing we're going to do is close the loop and bring it all back to source, because then these people are going to take that and they're going to circulate it in their own way, and we get to trust that it's all in the highest good of all. So for me, I felt like when I did this, my heart opened when it came to money. And I started to notice how the more money I make, the more everyone around me benefits. And that really became my mantra. It's like, wow, the more resources I have access to, the more I get to circulate to this person and this person and this thing and have this experience. And it feels so good to feel into the energy of abundance from that place, to feel that current flowing through you. And you can use your mind then to direct it as it needs to. So that's Money Loves Purpose. And yeah, this is what I have for you today. Are there any, do you have any questions? Do you have any comments that you want to share? These were really big, game-changing pieces for me when it came to, like I said, getting from failure into that fortune mode. So I felt like it was so important to include this training in our 3 days.
I loved it, and that diagram is really powerful. You should share that far and wide. I've had so many negative long-standing beliefs around having too much money would make me a bad person, and it's so contrary to what the truth is, because I give my money to small businesses. I give my money to the people who I'm always just generous with my money. I'm always tipping extra. I'm I see someone on the street who could use $5 and giving it to them. So obviously the universe wants me to have more money because I can just do more of that, and it makes so much sense when you think of it that way. And I really like the money loves to flow element too, because I was having trouble with this business until I booked my ticket to Mexico. But now that I actually have a reason to want to have money to spend, now I'm having clients book my 6 weeks sayonara, intro call, things are really close, and it's all coming, and nothing was moving until I had that decision where I needed a reason to start spending my money, because before I was living at home, I wasn't spending on anything. So I feel like there was no need for flow at that moment, or I wasn't encouraging the flow. So that's the money piece. Oh my gosh, I have a lot of notes written. Everything was really good. I also really liked hearing those 4 upper limit theories, because I know which one applies to me, and I was completely unaware of that holding me back.
Now you know. The more you know, the more you know. But man, it's so true, because we can be that very generous kind of person, like what you said about money and how you give it to a lot of people and places. You can take that physical action, but then energetically feel resistance even to that, or feel like you're doing it out of obligation. It's oh, well, this is just the right thing to do, so I'm just gonna do it, and not feel a genuine joy in your heart from circulating money towards that person or that place. It's the more you get into the mood of I'm so grateful that I get to circulate money here, you're opening up that channel and allowing more to flow through. So it's not just the physical action, it's the energetic state you're in when you take that physical action. And it all helps to shift your relationship with money. And really understanding your own inherent value, right? The more that I feel that sense of wholeness, because that's what it is. It's when I give from a place of I'm so happy to give to you. This feels so good to give. You're in a state where your cup is so full. That's the state you're entering. It's my cup is so full that it feels so good to give more. And in that sense of wholeness, we remember our own inherent value. And of course, it becomes easier then to show up, to do the actual things that move the needle forward in a business, to show up, to create really valuable services, to sell those services unapologetically, because you feel like an abundant and wealthy human being. And it's all contributing. It's like all of these principles, they seem unrelated, but they're so related. And I'm so happy to hear that things are like moving and flowing when it comes to 6 weeks to sayonara. Like, yay! I'm so excited for you on this journey to Mexico. I already know what the future holds for you. And I'm so excited. All right.
Appreciate you so much.
All right. We will wrap up here for today. We have one more call tomorrow. It is at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And this is when we're getting into the business strategy. We're going to be talking branding. We're going to be talking offers. We're going to be talking sales. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of it because this is the final piece. I really want to ground this down into like practical business strategies for you to use. Again, reminder, book your one-on-one strategy session with me. I'm so excited to meet, maybe reconnect or meet with every single one of you who are joining the community. Yeah, let's get it. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.